right, welcome to the Gut Feelings podcast. So today we have a very special guest. We have Breanne Sich from Canada, Calgary, right? Calgary,
Yeah.
Alberta. Okay, so Breanne is the owner of Crohn's and Colitis Collective, and a little bit about Crohn's and Colitis Collective. We literally hate our guts. This is a collective created by Cronies for Cronies. This disease impacts the lives of so many in so many ways, from what you eat to what you drink to how you plan your exercise, how you plan your outfits, and how you structure your day. We're tired of its control, so we decided to do something about it. This collective was started as a way to bring awareness to this invisible disease and encourage people to reach out, get gutsy, and talk about shit. To talk about how you're feeling, to talk about what this disease really looks like. Growing up, we were constantly told this type of conversation was considered potty talk and it shouldn't be done in public. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we want to say F that. People need to know. Your family and friends need to know. We need collectively to raise awareness so that one day we can beat this disease. To this date, we have been able to donate over $80,000 to help find a cure, and there is no sign of us stopping anytime soon. So welcome to the podcast. We're so thankful to have you here and to hear your story and to hear about just everything you've done to support IBD patients like ourselves and like your sister. And yeah, thanks for being
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. Very excited. I always love a good opportunity to talk shit when I'm able
We do too.
to.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about, so for those of you that aren't familiar, Crohn's and Colitis Collective, you sell a lot of t-shirts and different things to raise money, and you donate 90% of the proceeds to helping find a cure, to supporting research. So tell us about, like, how did you get to the point of deciding to create something like that to be able to raise money and to be able to support others?
Yeah. Yeah. Great question. So I have always wanted to be involved with Crohn's and colitis awareness, IBD awareness as a whole. More recently, in the last 10 years, I would say. I mean, being an advocate for IBD when you're a young female in your 20s isn't the most glamorous thing to do if you're looking to find potential suitors. Let's say that. Um, no, with all jokes aside, though, it's something that really has affected my life. I got diagnosed at a pretty young age. My sister had it as well. So I would consider myself lucky because she's my older sister and got diagnosed before me. So when I started feeling a lot of the same symptoms, when I was going through the whole rigmarole of figuring out what was going on with my body, my parents kind of instantly were like, whoa, this is just like the exact same thing happening that happened to her. Let's get her in. So I was on medication a lot faster. So I use that as a saving grace to where I could be, I guess, right now. And I use it almost as kind of a push for myself because I got that chance to be able to take some of my life back. I'm still affected by this disease every single day, down to every single hour, because it's something that is a full-time disease. But I really try and use my platforms, my voice, and what I can do to help raise awareness for it. So it was 2020, obviously the magical year of the pandemic. And unfortunately, my sister had been in the States visiting some family before everything got shut down. And she ended up having a hernia, which caused her bowels to actually twist. And she was in a very, very small city in Texas, basically on the border between Texas and Mexico. And she ended up being hospitalized. And while she was down there, unfortunately, the hospital she was in had no GI specialist. They let her go too long, and her bowels were at the point where they were basically going to rupture. She was calling us, like it was full lockdown mode, saying her goodbyes. Like it was not a great time. And this isn't, unfortunately, the first time that we have been through this with her. She's just been through the rigmarole. She's had probably 10 plus major surgeries. She has a permanent ostomy bag. She's had so many complications from just having Crohn's disease in itself that it's just kind of been like a domino effect of everything that's been going on. So me sitting on the other side of the world, if you will, in Canada. I know it's not the other side, but not being able to do anything and just like seeing this happen over and over again and seeing similar stories and having more people like come out and being like, we suffer from this and we don't talk about it enough. I was just like, you know what? Something needs to change. I know that there's great resources and awareness through like the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. I know that they have great advocacy efforts, but I want to do something more than just participate in the Gutsy Walk. And I want to do something more than just like donate financially. I want to really start getting people together to be able to talk about this. So from that point, I just decided that this was something I wanted to pursue. It was kind of in the back of my mind for a really long time. And I wanted to just make it really approachable, really fun, and create events and apparel that if you had no idea what it stood for, you might still buy it just because you think it's really fun, cheeky, or cool, like something that says nice butt or something that says, oh shit, and just kind of have that sense where people are simultaneously donating, whether or not they know what the cause is for. So to round out that story, I guess, in a little bit of a way, my sister is okay. She's actually was medevaced back to Canada. She has been with her ostomy bag now for quite some time, and she's got a whole new purpose and quality of life back for it. She still battles with this disease every single day, just like everyone else, but it's been incredible to see her come back from it, help support the Crohn's Colitis Collective Co, and just see where we're at today with so many people coming out and being like, oh my God, I have it too. This seems like a really fun community where I was either recently diagnosed, I've been diagnosed for 10 plus years, and I've kind of found not a home, but almost like a group of people that like I can talk to on a regular basis that like what I'm going through. They have time for in-person events. They can let some fun little swag, and then we can still donate and raise money for a cure.
Well, I'm so glad your sister's okay.
Yeah, me too. Like, it's just crazy how some people instantly think like IBD and Crohn's and colitis are just like affect how many times you go to the bathroom, and that's kind of it. They just kind of see like the superficial kind of layer of that disease, and like, yes, we're constantly going, but there's just so many other layers to the point like it actually can affect your health, and it can bring you to a point where you might not survive this disease. And I mean, that's to say for a lot of diseases out there, if somebody threw something else at me, like I don't know it through and through, I'm not familiar with maybe something else somebody has, but I'm willing to learn and to understand and like get more of like a scratch the surface list on what they're going through in order to help raise money for it, maybe raise a cure for it. So I think that's what it's all about, is just educating people on the fact that it's just so much more than you maybe have to like step out to use the washroom every so often.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, definitely more so than I think what people think. And I've done some reels on like what I see in like BD commercials, like how it shows, it really only shows such a small part and they make it look so easy,
Yeah,
Even
they're
in the
just like
commercials.
holding their stomach and they're like, ugh,
Yeah.
and then like run to the bathroom and come out and they're like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, I wish it was that simple, right? I wish I looked like that when that happened. But
Yeah.
yeah, I want to go back to something you said. You mentioned you found your home, so to speak, like you found your community. Is that what you mean by that?
Yeah, it was pretty eye-opening, I would have to say. So when I put it online and we started just like hosting a couple events and we started talking about it more, and I was being more active in it and kind of like finding my voice. So beforehand, I was very vocal about it on my own personal channels, but also just in real life. I kind of got to a place where I was like, you know what, this is a part of me. It doesn't define me, but it's a big part of me. And in order for people to be able to understand my mannerisms, me as a human, how I work, how I operate, they need to know that this is happening to me. And I'm doing myself a disservice by not telling them, to be honest. I'm just carrying too much of a mental load. So once I started leaning into a bit more on the other side and kind of putting it where I'm not really necessarily always the face of that organization, but an entity in itself, and started like kind of talking in the sense of like, this is what I personally go through. What do you go through? It just started opening up this huge network of individuals who, some of them were friends of mine that I have known for like years, who just like knew I had this disease, but like finally felt comfortable to come out and tell me, or they had like a sibling who had it, or there was acquaintances or people who I've worked with in the past that were just like, hey, I just recently got diagnosed. And it just seemed like the more that I was talking about it, the more all of these people started coming out and feeling empowered themselves or comfortable or confident or whatever it may be. I'm just happy that they did, in order to kind of come out and talk about it. So that community there has now almost formed its own little ecosystem where people are connecting with each other in different ways. I'll maybe post something like, I'm at my infusion today. And then all of a sudden it spurs like, what do you take? And all these people are just like supporting each other in the comments of like, yeah, this is a side effect or this is a symptom. So it's just been really incredible to see that like people who might not have a lot of resources or might be recently diagnosed are finding kind of a normalcy to it. And people that have been suffering with this for a while are just being reinforced that like it's okay to talk about it publicly.
Wow. That's awesome. That's awesome that you've created a safe space for people to feel comfortable to talk about that.
It's been great. And it's not just me. I feel like maybe I gave a platform for it, but like the whole community's been the people who have created it, you know, like they're putting themselves out there so much. And like the more that somebody does it, another person's like, oh my God, okay, yeah, I can pose in a bikini with my ostomy bag. Like this is normal. There's nothing wrong with this. And like, just watching that is so empowering. And it just like, you can just see like when people post and talk about that stuff, like how the community just kind of like comes up and are just like, yeah, let's do it.
So, I mean, Breanne, like, be completely honest here too. So, for myself, I was 14 when I was diagnosed with Crohn's. And for me, that wasn't so easy to talk to people about, or I felt like, given my situation, I think I volunteered with like M&M Meats Barbecue for,
oh my God, yeah, same.
yeah, maybe like a year after I was diagnosed or something like that. But it was like all adults there. There was no other like teenage girls. So it was just kind of like, for you, do you feel like it took you a long time to be open about it? Or were you just kind of like, this just needs to happen and I'm going to make it happen?
No, not at all. I was exactly like how you mentioned. Like, I should have started out by saying, like, I've got to this point and I've had this disease for 20 plus years, but it took a good 10 to 15 to be able to come out and actually talk about it. So similar to you, I got diagnosed when I was 10, and it was probably the worst experiences of my life, if I'm being completely honest. And you guys can probably relate in the sense of, okay, you're at school, you have no idea what's going on with your body, you constantly have to go to the bathroom, kids are mean. Let's just say mean is an understatement. And you're being penalized to go if you have to go to the bathroom. Going to gym class, going for lunch. Oh my God, trying to find like a bathroom that actually had like, doors on it, like the stalls were open, like just terrible. And then layer that with, I played a lot of competitive sports. So lucky me, I got to go on like road trips with all of my friends who played competitive sports, but like one hotel room for like 4 girls. My coaches and my parents knew, but my coaches didn't really understand. Like the next day for tournaments, they'd be like, why are you so tired? Why are you not running hard enough? Like get benched, I'd get in trouble, I'd have to do extra laps. But I'm like, it's because I would go to the front desk, ask for a separate key, and I'd be sneaking out of the hotel room 5 to 7 times a night to go down to the lobby to use the bathroom because I just didn't want to use the bathroom in our room. Like, you go through those stages and you're like, this is terrible. This is just not fun. And then you add on high school and you keep going through those. So it got to a point where, yeah, I shut down with it. I didn't want to talk about it. But there was a point in my life where I was like, okay, something needs to change because I need people to understand that I'm not just blowing them off because I don't like them. I'm not showing up for work because I don't care. I'm not like handing in assignments or doing group assignments because I don't have a good work ethic or I want to do bad in this class. I just physically can't focus because I'm so ill. And once I started realizing that like people kind of understood and kind of got it. It was just little by little. I was laying a foundation of like, hey, every so often I'd let somebody else in on like something else I was going through, or like, got more comfortable in making jokes about it because it was easier for people to get, or if people would be like, what happened in there, blah, blah, blah. It was just kind of like you were more receptive to like joking about it. And as soon as you took that power away that they could make fun of you for it, which is also insane to say that people do make fun of people for it. But I just felt like, okay, I'm taking back the power. This is me, take it or leave it kind of thing. And once I settled into that, it's been like so nice. I feel like I've been able to like take a breath of fresh air of being like, okay, like people understand everybody poops. I do a lot more, but like it's a normal thing. And that's just one layer of it. Now I'm like, okay, now educating on people of like the chronic fatigue, the nutrition part of it. And I'm not a nutritionist or a doctor, but like being able to share my experience of just how I get through day to day.
I wanted to ask too, so we have a lot of people listening and patients of ours that are diagnosed as, teenagers and as early as 10. And I think they all kind of struggle with very similar things that you just described. Now, do you have any suggestions on, it sounds like when you opened up and shared about your experience, it made things easier and lighter. Do you have any suggestions on how people can break the ice or make that part easier? And also like knowing who those people are, who you tell and who you don't.
Yeah. And that's so hard too, because I mean, if I was listening when I was like 12 and I had just got diagnosed and was just like the height of a flare, I would be like, kids are mean. I'm talking to adults and people who are like now open and confident, or more so, I should say, confident and comfortable, and at a point where they've had maybe a couple more experiences in terms of like, being emotionally aware, being um, equitable or eloquent, or realizing that like actions and what they say behind or to people's faces have repercussions. Like in high school, I feel like it's like Wild West. Same with middle school. They're still learning how to communicate with groups of people. And yeah, if I was 12 and listening to this, I'd be like, it's not that easy. And I don't blame them. I don't think it is that easy. I think it's something that like you have to just start being confident in yourself, and potentially is trying to figure out ways to like take that power back for yourself, because there is a lot of people who are even between that 10 to 20 your age that are very emotionally intelligent and aware, and there's always going to be people in your life that like, don't understand you or don't give you the time of day, or unfortunately use your misfortunes for their humor or whatever it may be. But those aren't the types of people that will be in your life in the long run. And those aren't the types of people that I think you necessarily want to align yourself with if they're using this as a way to make fun of you. But again, I would say that just know that this isn't the end for you. If you going to the bathroom and people hearing and laughing is one of the worst things that happens to you at that age, just know that like that's in the long run not going to be that bad. Like you can still get from it. You're healthy. Just try and work on it. Figure out ways that you can get support from your colleagues and your peers and your teachers. I wish I would have been able to tell some of my teachers, and they could have maybe helped me find a more accessible bathroom, or like use like the teacher's bathroom or something like that. There's people out there that will help advocate for you if you can like try and start advocating for yourself.
Wow. Yeah, that's really powerful.
I hope. I'm like, it is hard because yeah, poor little 12-year-old Bree would be like, I'm scared. I don't know what to do, but you're going to get through it. It's one of those things where you just, unfortunately, you do got to push through, and like you need to take your time. You can take your time, and you don't have to shout it from the rooftops. But I do think you have to like, be confident in yourself, even when you're not feeling well.
It's so cool too that, all that you've been through and all your experiences with it, you've been able to flip it and turn it into more of a positive to spread more awareness and connection with people. So I think that's really, really cool, especially through like clothing and accessories, because when I was younger, again, I think I was like 18. I think that's when you can first get a credit card, right? 18.
I think so.
I got a t-shirt from Crohn's and Colitis Canada, and it said it's a pain in the gut on the back. And I thought it was just like hilarious or just like fitting. But that was a way for like other people to connect with me too. Cause I remember someone being like, hey, Danielle, like, I'm over here. What does your shirt say? And then it turned into like, oh, like my husband has Crohn's. And then it's like, oh my gosh, like just cool. I mean, he was a little bit older than me to be talking about it with, but like still, age doesn't really matter at the same time too. You're still experiencing very, very similar things. So it was just a cool way to connect without really saying anything initially.
No, for sure. I remember seeing those too. So I'd had participated in a couple of the gutsy walks and have now been able to kind of be on the other side of it, which has been fun. But yeah, the whole kind of apparel thing actually sparked from gutsy too, because I had all these lists of fun things again that I just wanted to put on shirts that I didn't need to have it say like Crohn's Colitis Collective or anything like that, because if I'm being honest, I think there's a small group of people who might still buy that and support it, but like I just didn't want this to be like a bedtime shirt, you know? Mm-hmm. Like we've all been there, you go to an event or a fundraiser and you get like this like oversized shirt that is like kind of itchy, it's like very rigid, and you're going to wear it for the event, but then when you go home you wash it and it like immediately goes to either like bottom of your laundry pile or it gets like tucked away and you're just like wear it camping or in the garage, or you usually wear it where like nobody is going to see it at all. And that was kind of like when I was going through, I was like, I don't want these to become like pajamas. I don't want them to become bedtime shirts. I want them to become something that like, people are like, yeah, shit, I do want to wear this out in public, or I want to wear this ball cap, or I want to because I think it's just like a really funny saying. And again, like, people could be like, oh, where'd you get that shirt from? And if people can say like, oh, I got it from the Crohn's Colitis Collective Co., ideally, instantly, that kind of goes off. Or if somebody actually has Crohn's or colitis or is like tied to it and bought it for a reason, they can be like, yeah, all 90% of the proceeds go back to finding a cure. And there's some other fun sayings, like just kind of spark that initial trajectory with it, which I think has made it very popular. Honestly, this last month, I think I've sold out basically of all of my inventory from certain things. Wow. So we're getting back there, which has been great.
Ooh, well, congrats.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's been really good. I'm not that great at shipping and talking to people via email because things get busy. So if you're listening and you're still waiting for your order, I apologize. I'm getting there.
Well, and it does sound quite busy because you did a collaboration with another company called Lazy Pants, right?
Yeah, which was awesome. They are such a cool Canadian company and they were great. We did 2 collaborations actually, which was awesome. So one launched, I want to say a year ago on May 19th, and I had connected with them through Crohn's and Colitis Canada. And they were interested in taking some of the slogans and mottos and putting them on their cheeky collection, which was awesome. So we started out with 2 in a couple different colors, and it was just a very kind of fun, surreal experience because, I mean, I was like, I'm just slinging t-shirts over here. So this is really fun to see that there's actually a bigger company who's like taking note and wanting to get involved. And then it ended up doing really well, and they reached back out and they wanted to do another. So we actually did, I think, four different slogans for them. And that was like a really cool defining part where we got to reach out to a lot of different people in the community who had IBD that were similar to myself, like bigger advocates for it and open, and start sending them a couple of sweatsuits to wear and kind of rep. And that started in its own little mini campaign for Crohn's and colitis, which was really fun to see. So yeah, that was really, really great. I was going to wear one of those today, but it's like 20 degrees out and I didn't want to be sweating.
Yeah, it's a little warm for something like
yeah.
Are these available in the US too, or just Canada?
I think they are available in the US. I want to say yes. It's a Canadian company, but they have some great shipping. So I'm pretty sure they are 99% sure that they are.
Is your brand available to US or just Canada?
It is available to US as well. I think there's one or two items on the site that I had to just stop. So I use a third party distributor as well. So I have some with me that I ship out. And then for the sake of my husband's sanity and our house, so we didn't have boxes of stuff everywhere, I have a print on demand service. And some of that stuff can, but there's some stuff that just like unfortunately can't be shipped. I think there's like our two coffee mugs and one hat, but about 90% of it can be as well, which is great.
Nice. That's great. I don't know if you remember, but like a couple years ago, I had asked you about that a long time. I think when
Maybe,
you started,
probably.
yeah, I remember like, can I get this in the US? And I think back then you weren't doing in the US, but that's
I
exciting to
couldn't do it
hear.
in the US.
Yeah,
It was so
yeah.
hard because like
Not
when you're
easy.
going through it, like the back end of stuff, I'd like consider myself a very technologically savvy person. But when I was looking at US shipping rates for it, because they're different on some of the products, it was just going to be like a coffee mug with shipping was almost more expensive than the mug. I
I
was
know.
like, I feel like people will be mad at me and it's not my fault, but maybe I'll just say no for right now. And if somebody really wants it, they can message me and I'll just like send it to them individually.
Yeah, the shipping between countries is no joke. I tried to
I
send
know.
Danielle a birthday card. I don't know if you remember Danielle a couple years ago, and it was like going to be $100 to send the birthday card, and that
I
was
I know, and you're just like, this is seems really not functional. I know, and then some people had to pay like customs
oh, I
for
know,
it, and I
duties.
was like,
Yeah,
oh my goodness.
I
I
know.
had unfortunately a run-in with one of those. Somebody's quite upset, and I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I don't get to pick which distribution company picks up the bid for the
Yeah,
print. But yeah, anyways, just nuts.
yeah.
Do you have a favorite product, Breanne?
Ooh, I do. I love our ball caps. I'm like a good dad cap girl. That was like the first product that I made. And it was a black cap with oh shit in white writing. And I think that is my best seller by far. It's just like taken off. And that one I think has been one thing that I will never get rid of. Just cool. And then I have to say my socks too. And they have been on back order for quite some time because socks to get them a good quality pair of socks and then to get both the sides embroidered because I had them embroidered on both with oh shit. Um, they were so cool. They don't make that big of a donation, I have to say, because it's like so much to get printed and sold. That's more of a brand equity play on my part, but those ones are awesome. I don't think I've ever got more compliments on a pair of socks. So those ones are really fun. Good Christmas gifts and little gifts too.
Yeah, I like that. Socks, yeah, always a good idea.
Always a need, yeah. So we'll see. I'm hoping to have a couple more slogans and some fun stuff come out this summer. And then we can get some of our beanies and our toques and everything back up because those are really fun. But I usually take a little hiatus from Crohn's Colitis Collective Co merch after our fundraiser, which just happened in May here, just to kind of reset, go through what I want to continue to do, what worked well, what didn't, and then see how we can make it bigger and better.
That's amazing. And I guess, like, for those listening right now, if someone was newly diagnosed with IBD, is there anything that you would want them to know?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think I would want them to know that one size doesn't fit all and that everyone's experiences are so different. And you're probably going to get a lot of information coming at you very fast from all different facets, from physicians, from parents, from friends, from people who have Crohn's and colitis. And you're going to probably jump head first into trying all of the things when people say it works for them. And it can be probably very overwhelming and it can be extremely isolating. And you might be vulnerable and you might be frustrated and you might end up finding a path that actually works for you. But just keep note that just because something worked for somebody else with this disease doesn't mean it's going to be 100% and vice versa on the other side. I think you have to be really patient with yourself, as hard as that is. And just know that there's going to be people out there that say like, you could cure your disease by just changing your diet. And that might be the case for some people, but it might not be for you. So just keeping an open mind, trying to consistently do what makes you feel good and what keeps your quality of life good. There's a big difference there sometimes. One of the best pieces of advice I got was actually from my physician, my specialist, when I had moved to Calgary. And he was just like my favorite. Not that my specialist now isn't. She's amazing. Sorry, Dr. Cial. But he actually had the Crohn's himself, and he ended up going through a full ostomy bag surgery, or colostomy. So he ended up getting an ostomy bag, and he was just like so in tune, because he would be like, I kind of feel like this, and he'd be like, I know exactly the feeling. He just knew what was going on. And I remember one day like going into his office, and he was just like, how's it going? Like, I haven't seen you in a little bit, but I hear things aren't well. And I just like, completely broke down to him. And I was just like, listen, like, I'm doing everything that you told me to do. I'm on my medications. I'm reading everything on the websites. I'm literally never going out. I'm not making new friends. I'm limiting my diet so much. I just like, sit at home, and literally I'm depressed. I don't know what to do, because if I go out, I usually end up eating something or drinking something that makes me sick, and then I'm paying for it, or I just like feel extremely ill. But if I stay in, I just moved here. I don't have anyone to talk to. I'm going through all of the roller coaster emotions, and I'm trying everything, and nothing seems like it's working. And he was listening to me, and he was just like, you know what, breathe. Like, sometimes your disease can't be cured with all of the things you find on the internet. Sometimes you just feel sick. Sometimes you're just sick, and there's nothing you can do about it. And it's one of the most defeating things, because you're trying so hard to cure something that is incurable at this moment. And you're also degrading your quality of life to the point that your mental health is so suffering. So try and choose the lesser of two evils, and like, try and find something and a balance of like finding happiness if you can, and kind of moving forward. And in that moment, I was like, this is one of the most like defeating things that somebody has ever told me. But then also at the other side, it was one of the most empowering things I had ever heard, because it just like made me feel and think and believe that like, I wasn't a failure. Like, I was doing all of this stuff and nothing seemed to work. And I was like, why is my body quitting on me? What is going on? And in that moment, I was like, okay, you're saying like, it's not just me. Sometimes the disease is just a disease, and that's what it is. And from that moment on, I kind of started looking at things from multiple different perspectives and lenses, of being like, you know what? I don't really feel 100% today, but mentally I need to go out and I need to see some people. And we don't need to go out for dinner, but maybe they'll go for a walk with me. And when I'm ready, maybe we'll go and eat, but like, I'll just be careful, and I'll just start to get some quality of life back with like human interactions. And maybe I'll start to like try and maybe go to the gym a little bit. And if I need to, I'll just stop if I don't feel good. But like, start doing stuff that like normally brings me happiness. And that just, I don't know if it was a shift in my mindset or my perspective, or the drugs started working that I was on, or just was less stressed out and feeling so incapable of healing myself, that like things started to get better from there. Because I felt like I was doing the things, and I just needed to let that part go, that I can't control everything.
That's so important for people to hear, because it seems like, I think a lot of people feel that pressure to just do everything, especially in the first years you're diagnosed. And there's an importance of trying things, but there's also importance in acceptance, because acceptance is what allows you to move from, that blame feeling like it's all my fault into I can actually take care of myself because this is where I'm at. So I'm accepting
Yeah.
that and I'm changing and adapting to fit that. And it's
Yeah.
such a relief when you can be in that place of being able to accept and move forward.
100%. And it definitely took a while. And yeah, again, these are just like my personal experiences. Everyone has their own, and by no means is what I was doing maybe going to work for somebody else or not. So definitely say that with a caveat. But I definitely found that when I started nurturing my mental health a bit more as well, I started to feel better. And don't get me wrong, I still struggle a lot, but I try and still like check off the things that make me happy as a person, because I feel like it just like so many other positive side effects, at least for me, to be able to feel and like participating in daily life, you know? And there's days where I just like, crawl under blankets and don't want to do anything or talk to anyone. And I'm just like, why is this happening? And those days suck as well. But they're needed. Everyone needs rest days and everyone needs time to just recuperate and figure out themselves. But yeah, it was definitely like quality of life factor was a big one for me.
I'm really glad you brought that up because I don't know if we've really ever talked about it in a way like that, where it's like, hey, you know what? Unfortunately, 100% bowel movements that are like amazing, probably never going to happen with IBD, right? So
No.
I think more people need to hear that too. But just because maybe your bowel movements are at 80% doesn't mean you still can't go and enjoy some of the things you've always enjoyed before. So I'm really
Oh,
glad.
100%. I'm like such a maybe a bad influence on that part, but I'm like, you know what? I know my gut might hurt, but like, I'm going to eat this bite because it makes me happy and I'll deal with it. That being said, I'm not in the flare. I'm not in a state where I'm living hour by hour because I've been there before where it's just not worth it. But there is times where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take the moment and like, enjoy this. And like, I know my body now to the sense of like, the stages of what is going there. And I hope people get to that point too, where you can maybe like, have a bite of something or you can do something and you're not going to like completely spiral. And like, it doesn't always just have to be about food. It could be about like, hey, you're going to go skiing or snowboarding and like, you're going to feel good. And like, I props to anybody who does like extreme sports with Crohn's and colitis because there's not a lot of bathrooms on the mountains. But like, maybe that's what makes you happy and you just like, want to go out for the day and like, do a little run or something like that. And even if you go down the hill once and it makes you feel good, let's do it. It's just going to do wonders for your health.
Yeah, I like that. Words of wisdom.
Words of wisdom, hopefully.
No, thank you for sharing. Thank you for being so honest with us about just your own personal experience and in sharing your thoughts and your journey to acceptance and for creating such a powerful brand that, could be conversation starters and provide people humor and also giving back with the company. So thank you for creating that and for being here to share about it. So definitely, I'd love to know for those that are listening, where can they find you online and how can they get some of your merch?
Yeah, my website is crohnscollective.com. I will be having restock soon, as mentioned. A lot of people sold me out for my fundraiser and for the Gutsy Walk, which was great. So there is still some stuff on there. And again, 90% of the profits go towards finding a cure and raising awareness for IBD. The 10% complete transparency, I got to keep the website going. I pay for all of the products up front myself. I actually lose money doing this sometimes. Actually, all the time, but it's just a way that I'm like, okay, if I can just break even, that's a win for me. So all of the stuff goes back, which is great. And yeah, to date, with all of our fundraisers and the merch and just being in business in the social enterprise, we've been able to raise over $80,000 for Crohn's and Colitis Canada, which has been awesome. So yeah, you can go there or on Instagram. It's such a mouthful, but Crohn's Colitis Collective Co. And we can always link it in there. But yeah, feel free to reach out with any questions that you might have. I'm an open book, so love to chat with people who are going through it. And even if I can be an ear or tell a story that I had come through or like a resource that I have, I would love to. Again, I'm not a gastroenterologist. I'm just somebody who has been living with this shitty disease for 20 plus years and hopefully can offer some sort of ailment for you.
Awesome. Well, we will link all of that in the show notes, and thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's so great.